Over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed. There you go. Go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final. You're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold. Take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final. Runway 9 clear to land.
Okay, all right. Let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see. Well, we got a tricycle. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here. You click land on 9 all the way to the white dot. Go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway, and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern, or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep your airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the down ones. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, you're on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there on about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight on tonight's live stream. You'll notice that there's no Ian here. He's having a night off, so filling his seat is Annabelle. Also with us tonight is our special guest, Allie Dunnington. Allie is a world travelling balloonist who holds the world record in having flown a balloon in 115 countries. She's also initiated the first British women's balloon event in 2010 and is the UK's first female flight examiner for balloons. Fabulous stuff. How is everybody?
Cold.
Everyone has different answers.
Yep.
Fabulous stuff. So first, thanks to our sponsor, Sky Demon. Here's Rob with a reminder of what was a very early tip in the series. It's number 3, in fact. It's timely, though, because it's all about sharing routes, just in time for all that great weather we're about to get as the flying season starts. I just need to find it. Here we go. Oh,
insert film music.
Hi, I'm Rob from Sky Demon, and here's another top tip. When you've finished planning a route, you may wish to share it with a friend. To do this, tap on Route, and then drop down to Share, then choose By Mail. This will create a canned email which contains the Sky Demon route and a route in a couple of other formats, as well as some briefing information as well. Pop your friend's email address in here and send it off. They can then open the attachment to view it in their Sky Demon. For more information, check out our website www.skydemon.aero.
very good. Has anyone ever shared a route?
Yes, I have.
Where, Annabelle, where was it? Was it anywhere exciting?
It was. It was when I did my Grand European Odyssey. I shared the route with Graham, who was sitting very quietly in the other seat, so that he could have it on his iPad, just because I was absolutely paranoid that all my devices would overheat. I would panic. I'd drop something out the window. So therefore, he had a copy of the route, so it would be his fault if we got lost.
Ah, good. Yeah, place the responsibility for being lost with Graham. Excellent. That's what you can use that for. Don't forget, if you've got a question for Sky Demon to be answered in future live stream videos, then please email us at sdq@sega.aero. We've started that series running, so and there are more to come. Dave.
Right. Well, here's Simon with the weekend weather forecast.
Evening,
Hello,
all.
Simon.
Evening. How are we?
Right.
It is cold, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
It is. It must be cold if you've got a hoodie on.
I know. I know. Actually, I've come dressed as Ian.
Oh my God.
CAA, France.
Insert rant. It's
And then you need a little bit of masking tape where you write an illegible message and you stick it to your head.
Absolutely.
It's funny. It really is.
Right, should we do a bit of weather?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's it looking like? Oh, that was me. There we go.
Well, yeah, it's a bit of an iffy weekend. I've got to be honest. I've seen better, but still, there is going to be some flying around. This is tomorrow, so a couple of areas to watch for tomorrow. One is going to be an area of showers developing across northeastern Scotland. Another's an area of showers developing across northeast England. The bases on those, about 2,500 feet tops, are up at around 8,000 to 10,000 feet. But you see this sort of front down towards the south. This is just a very weak occlusion moving its way northwards. It brings some outbreaks of rain across southwestern parts of the UK into southern Wales later on tomorrow afternoon. Sorry, Dave. Base is getting down to around 1,500 feet in that rain. But elsewhere, not bad, sort of 3,000 foot bases, 7,000 to 8,000 foot tops, and pretty light winds as well. I think Ali will be quite pleased with that. Saturday, now, this is a bit of a messy one. Front lies through the Midlands, through southern parts of Wales into southwestern parts of England. You can probably get a better feel for that from the cloud base forecasts here. The orange colour showing us bases of 500 to 1,000 feet. So you see that really a line of rain and low cloud lying through those central areas of the country, through Wales into southern parts of England. However, I've got a feeling that's overplayed. I think the cloud's going to be slightly more broken than that, and the bases will be a bit higher as well. So keep a careful eye on the forecast. I think if you're going to go and do long trips, then definitely it's one to be very wary of. But some local flying may well be possible. Just check out the forecasts for Saturday tomorrow. Now, across northern England, Scotland into Ireland, much better. 3,000 foot bases generally, tops about 9 to 10,000 feet. Yes, an isolated shower, but actually not a bad day overall. The far southern coasts of England may as well be a little bit better. It's just that central strip that we see the problems. And then Sunday, remnants of that front still around with this annoying area of low pressure in the North Sea. I think this is going to bring us some more clouds, some outbreaks of rain across central and eastern areas. Bases on that probably about 1,000 to 2,000 feet in the rain, tops at about 10 to 12,000 feet. It will slowly clear away to the east, having moved a little bit further west during the morning. Much of Scotland, northwest England, Wales, probably the far western Midlands late on, southwest England and Ireland, all looking better. Their base is 3,000 feet, tops about 10,000 feet, and just an isolated shower here and there. So not a great deal at all for western areas that we need to be worrying about. Now, all of my weather schools are full at the moment, but if you just need weather schooling, you feel you need to get your weather knowledge up, you can do my Pilot's Guide to SKUT course online now. Just go to weatherschool.co.uk, click on the aviation section, and you can take that course straight away. Right, I'll leave you with that. Have a great weekend, won't you? Hope you get some flying in. Make the most of it if you can, and I'll see you next week.
Simon, before you go, Sky Driller says if you can just send some flyable weather to Southwest France, he needs it.
Let's have a look for you. If that's this weekend, yeah, I'll try my best. That's about as much as you'll get. Good luck with it, anyway.
You're sales, aren't you, rather than management, I suppose?
Exactly. Yeah, I'll put a request in for you, but it's not always listened to.
Fabulous. Thanks, Simon. Thanks.
Thank you, Simon.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Very good. Okay.
Excellent. Right,
George?
next up, question of the week, which we've kind of just covered. And obviously for Sky Driller, it hasn't. But the question is, has the flying season started wherever you are? And it's a very definite, probably not in the UK, I think. But this is where, this is usually where David Eads pops in and says it's been amazing at Easter.
Yeah. I last weekend it kind of felt like it's like a bit transitional in the weather. So,
but it's still spring. You know, we get this thing. You know, spring is still battling with winter, trying to bring summer along. That's my.
Yeah, we don't want winter battles. We just want spring. We just want nice weather.
Just want it to stop raining, just for a bit.
Oh wow! Well, who's complaining? Melanie Moxon says I've managed 12 hours this year.
Of what?
Yes, flying. Well, certainly looking at Fly 2024 on the Flyer Forum, I know that Mel's done a whole bunch of flying. So, so that's good going. Steph Smith says only 2 hours, 2 flying days for me so far this year. Steph, I think that's more like it for everyone else.
Yeah.
So, Annabelle.
Yes, well, you mentioned Easter. Easter is one of 10 places with free landing fees for club members this month. We have a Scotland special still continuing, a few more days left. Dornoch, Skye, Glenforsa, Easter, Perth, Longside, Kingsmuir, Fife, Balado, and Pench Common in Wiltshire. I'd really like to know, actually, in the comments, if you've used any of those free landings and it took you to Scotland. It'd be great to know whether that's actually encouraged you to go there. As well as our free landings, excuse me, members also get access to exclusive webinars. The next one is next week with Cy Wilson back to talk to us about tailwheel theory, handling and flying. Remember, if you've missed any of the webinars, they're all available for members on catch up. So recent ones have included flying float planes, flying in Europe, buying and selling aircraft. They're all there for you, and all of that is just £5 a month. Bargain.
It's a great deal. Yeah. Pete Pengelly says, I know someone who flew over 20 hours last weekend in a glider and covered
in the UK.
Kilometers. Blimey.
Yeah.
I bet that wasn't the UK, wasn't it?
It probably were. Maybe it was. Pete, was that in the UK? I guess it might have been. There was some good lift some kind of lifty-looking clouds around. Martin Hand says, I used the Clench Common voucher.
Thanks, lad.
I'm sure Clench Common is actually a wrestling hold.
Wouldn't that be the Common Clench? Gareth said, I flew to Bodmin. Bodmin pasty last weekend. Very disappointed. They'd run out of pasties by 12:30. This was discussed in the live stream.
Pasties? Pasties?
Pasties.
Pasties. I thought the first time was a slip of the tongue, Ed, but then you said it again, and now
I know.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to boot you out.
That's the way I was raised. Yes. Yeah, Pete says, apparently, yes, that was in the UK. So.
No.
Oh, and AJS said, I did 2.5 hours on my skills test. You can't leave us hanging like that. How did your skills test go?
Well, probably lasted 2.5 hours. It's probably successful, I would have said.
You'd like to think.
Yes.
You'd like to think. Yes.
We need to know, though.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Dave, I think you've got the first item of news, haven't you?
Yes, the first item of news is that there's a petition being launched to on the parliamentary site to reclassify airfields as greenfield sites instead of brownfield sites. This all dates back to a mistake made, apparently an administrative error, when airfields were lumped in with other brownfield sites because they'd been previously developed land. But if you look at this picture here, clearly that airfield is not all developed. A lot of it is green. This is actually Tollerton, and the person who started the petition is in the Save Nottingham City Airport campaign. Nottingham City Airport is otherwise known as Tollerton, and this woman, young woman called Sarah Deacon, has started this campaign, this petition, and already, well, the last time I looked, which was about an hour ago, it was up to almost 2,500 signatures. So it's really rattling along. Now, the whole point of this is to try and get ministers to look at the classification of airfields instead of making it easy for developers to plunder them and develop them, to make it much harder. So if it's a greenfield site, then it's a lot more work goes in. It's not impossible, of course, because just a mile away from me is a greenfield site that's being built on for housing. So it is still possible, but it does make it harder. They've got to build the case rather than just waltz in.
If you want to sign the petition, and I'm sure there's quite a few people who need to do that, you'll find the link in the link to our story that's on the screen. But yeah, no, that's definitely. Oh, there we go. Just signed 3,000. Claire B says just signed 3,000 signatures so far.
Wow,
so,
good.
Yep. Yeah. Worryingly, Jane says, but the latest government thing is that we can build on greenfield sites. It's never easy, is it? Never
no. Interestingly, a little interesting point on the Tollerton, the proposal. The General Aviation Awareness Council, they're the guys who kind of look after airfields, try and help them, battle for planning permission or whatever. Anyway, they've submitted a phenomenal case against the development of Tollerton as an airfield, as basically a new town. So there's good work by the GAAC, as they're called.
Yeah. Martin points out, needs 100k signatures for parliamentary discussion. Yeah, but I think if it gets to 10,000, it gets a response at least, doesn't it? So as Stuart says, that's double today. 1,500 signatures this morning. So yeah, if we can keep people signing it, because it's not just about, airfields aren't just for people with aeroplanes. Airfields are great green sites, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Good. Right. So some flight design news. They've been on and off quiet, but they were at Aero last week, and I'm guessing this is where we found out the news that their range of microlights is going back into production with 10 aircraft scheduled this year and 6 per month from 2025. Just one CT model was announced at Aero last week. The CT LSI GT Grand Touring will have a dry weight of 329 kilograms, powered by Rotax 912 AS. and we'll have a 12-inch dyno display screen for avionics. Prices start at €143,900. This announcement comes after 2 years of organisation for the German manufacturer after it had to vacate its production premises in Kherson, Ukraine, after the Russian invasion. Flight Designs, they've got a new factory for the F2 and the F4 aircraft in Sumperk in the Czech Republic, and have contracted with Kazakhstan manufacturer Virage Group to make the CT aircraft in a 50-50 venture. Apparently, some staff from Ukraine have already moved to Almaty in Kazakhstan to assist with production.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Flight Design is continuing the 2C F2 in Sumperk with deliveries of the Day VFR certified CS23 version. That's starting in July. The F2 is also undergoing night VFR and full IFR certification. So,
yeah.
they had a lot of things on their stand, didn't they? But quite a lot of them were kind of projects.
Well, it's been a tough time for Flight Design. You imagine, your factory, has to stop production, and all the, some of the people in there have had to move countries, because of what's happened with the Russian invasion. So it's to come back from that and still be in business is actually a pretty amazing achievement. I think. They are an ambitious company, sometimes too ambitious, as we've seen in the past. You remember the C4, their first four-seater, that almost wiped the company out with the cost of development. Anyway, they have come back, and the CT is one of the most popular microlights around. It's a lovely little aircraft, very roomy and very nice to fly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Right, Annabelle.
Yeah, last week, some of the team were Aero Friedrichshafen, celebrating the 30th anniversary of the show and commiserating the worst weather the event has ever seen, I believe. Make sure you head over to the Fly YouTube channel where you can find the Aero highlights video and the live stream that came straight from Ian's hotel room with not a penny spared.
Yeah, and I've also put a link in the comments. Now that we're back, we've been able to put the finishing touches to the Aero 2024 around the hall. So you don't want to, if you need more content besides the video, then take a run through the photos. So,
60 seconds. So there were 12 halls, so 5 seconds per hall.
Well,
you've skipped a few.
I think that picture is actually a phenomenal account of Aero.
It really is a world. We do so. We see it a lot, but it is a world. It's probably a world-leading show. I think certainly for innovation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Innovation, it is amazing. So, talking of innovation that was on display there, and we touched on it in last week's show, but Continental Aerospace Technology launched a version of its Jet A-fueled CD-170 piston engine. Adapted specifically for rotary aircraft. The CD-170R had already started certification with EASA. It's 170 horsepower, turbocharged with full authority digital engine control, which gives lower fuel consumption and dual redundancy, as Continental say. As a rotorcraft-specific power plant, it's kind of interesting, this one, because they've taken the gearbox off it. It's shaved 37 pounds of weight off it, which I think makes it the best power-to-weight ratio in piston engines in that market. So, and apparently, Continental reckon that the four-cylinder model is expected to conservatively burn around about 7.9 gallons of Jet A1 per hour. So, it'll be. But what we don't know is what helicopter it's going into.
That's right. Yeah, the fact that they're going to certify it means it's probably going to go into a certified helicopter.
Yeah,
but there may be other markets for it as well. But
and I'm guessing maybe gimbal with the Camry, possibly. Robinson.
That's the obvious one, isn't it? The R22,
isn't it? Yeah. So Paul Fraser Benison, talking about Aero, says, "Where were the UK manufacturers?" It's a good point.
It's a very good point. Yeah.
Yes. Johnny.
Yeah. So, a lot of this is divided opinion, but the RAF have repainted the display Typhoon for the year. And it was being a D-Day anniversary. It was only ever going to be a replica of a Typhoon, which this one is. So yeah, this is 80th anniversary of D-Day this year. They've painted the airplane in a 257 Squadron Typhoon, original Typhoon livery, which some people love, some people don't like. As I say, it was they were only ever going to do that. So yeah, we'll see it around the UK this season. They've called it Moggy for some reason. They didn't explain why, but the airplane's called Moggy, and it's going to be flown by a guy called David Turnbull, whose call sign is Turbo. So yeah, we'll see it.
I can kind of see where it's got the Moggy thing from, because if you turn the roundel into an O, then you have MOG.
Oh, of course.
Yes. But I know I'm on the fence with this. The RAF had done some really nice kind of historic schemes painted on modern day jets. The Americans are really, really good at this. I can't help but think though that it's not their best work.
Yeah. Well, I think parked outside a hangar doesn't do it much justice.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it'll look a lot better, won't it, in the sky?
Yeah.
Maybe it's those invasion bands over the fuselage.
That's not helping, actually. Yeah.
I'll make that worse for you. Annabelle, tell us about the day tomorrow.
Yes. So, did you know that tomorrow is World Pilots Day? Come on, be honest. Be honest.
Not until this morning.
I did. And the apostrophe's in the right place. Well done. Excellent. So, yes, the date for World Pilots Day was originally set by the Turkish Airline Pilots Association to commemorate the first flight of Turkey's first pilot, which I'm probably going to pronounce incorrectly. I will have a stab at Feyza Evrensev. In 2014, the International Federation of Airline Pilots Associations picked up the idea, and most of us have been celebrating it ever since. If you are a social media user, make sure you celebrate tomorrow by sharing flying photos with the hashtag World Pilots Day, and remember to tag us.
Yes. Yep. Okay. So before we go into the interview, we're going to have 5 things that surprised us at Aero. And this is a list put together before, without me, so I'm catching up if you like. And the first one on the list is this SSDR aerobatic slow aeroplane. Now, to me, that doesn't look so much like an aeroplane as a kite.
Oh no, it's brilliant. It was brilliant though. This is the Aviosma Funfly. It was a low-speed ultimate aerobatic aeroplane. It's a kit. It operates between 21 and 54 knots. 300 kilograms max takeoff weight. You can get 50 or 135 horsepower engines, and the kit price 45k to 60,000 euros, and that's including the engine. But you need to add a helmet because obviously they say full face helmet is mandatory because you're sticking out the top.
And also, so nobody can see your face and know who it is.
I think it is. It's not a looker, but it is quite. You go, what a great idea for an aeroplane. I think that could be quite exciting.
Is it though? Really?
I think it's a good idea. And I don't know about you, Ed, but I saw it front on first of all.
And and
you get hit by the wing is just insanely thick.
It must be like, what, 18 inches deep?
Maybe more, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's all wing and ailerons and control surfaces, and so I can't wait to hear if that flies successfully.
It's all substance and no style.
What about the other thing we were struck by is that they literally had to cram the DA40. It was like it had batteries on the bottom, batteries in the cabin, and no batteries in the cockpit because clearly you need somewhere to sit.
It's an enormous number of batteries to make this fly 1 hour, isn't it?
Yeah. But that's only going to improve, isn't it? Hopefully.
Yeah.
Apparently, Lufthansa have been evaluating it for the last few months.
Okay.
But we don't know what they said, so we just have to speculate on that.
Can we have some more space, please?
Yes, more space. Now, the next one on the list, third one, is I remember seeing this, but I know nothing about the VTOL ambulance.
There we go. Look at that. You've had an accident. You need to be recovered. You're really stressed about your injury, and they go, "It's all right, sir. The Cuisinart has turned up, and we're just going to load you into it." See you at hospital.
How do you get into it if it's in a VTOL?
When it's got this door on the back, so the paramedics load you in, and you go, "Are you not coming with me?" And they slam the door, and off you go.
So you're in this flying coffin-like thing.
I'm not sure the manufacturers would like you describing it as a flying coffin.
So I actually shared this photo with Hannah Nobbs, who is an air ambulance pilot who was our guest a few weeks ago. And so when she first opened it, she thought it was a flying beer fridge. I think that's actually a much better idea.
Yeah.
On the battlefield, that'll probably go down quite well, flying beer fridge.
Yeah,
you'd rather have your beer delivered than climb into it. So
yeah.
I like the fact that on the inside it's got a red cross to remind you what's going on.
Oh yeah.
And windows or something on the outside?
I don't think there were windows, but obviously, when you're needing medical assistance, there is a handy net full of stuff. You can select your own treatment.
Snacks, aren't they? Peanuts and hot scratchings.
The one thing I didn't see, but one of our readers, one of our viewers did, so thanks to Pete Pangeli for this photo, was this mad jetpack, which was hidden away at the back of the helicopter hangar. So it's a ducted, some kind of ducted fan. Pete, I know, is in the comments, so maybe you can help me out with a bit more detail. But it was a wearable jetpack that you strap yourself to. And I think if you look, the nozzles are very carefully controlled, so you can get kind of direction and little kind of jets of extra thrust to scoot you around the sky through. It's almost like the kind of afterburner end of a regular jet engine. But
I've actually found out a bit because I went looking to find out something about this because I didn't see it either. Apparently, it's based on quite an old project called the monocopter, which was created by a chap called Andreas Petzold, and it's a turbine-powered personal flying suit. Apparently, the good thing about it, this is what I read, is that the air coming out the bottom from it is actually not boiling, not ferociously hot, so it's not dry your thighs and your feet.
That's
in the wrong place.
Yeah, Nick Allen says that's a steampunk jetpack. Pete says there's no engine specified.
So I did see this, and I think it doesn't come across in the picture, but it looks like in person it's about 9 foot tall and made from cast iron.
Yes.
Yeah, it does look a bit like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So Oh, Aviator Steve. We found Aviator Steve's dream ride. That looks the as he says.
He also said he'd fly that other monstrosity though, so I don't know.
Okay, there we go. That's a fascinating little thing. And finally, we need to remind you that if you're at Aero, there's two very windswept chaps stood in front of the Dornier Museum at Friedrichshafen. The bonkers DO-31 vertical takeoff transport, because Dornier were all about solving problems that no one had actually come up with. So, but if you needed to transport loads of stuff and needed to do it fast, but just like a helicopter, then 2 Harriers and an extra 8 turbojets were what their solution was.
You have to say, after going around the Dornier Museum, that Dornier were quite bonkers. Were quite bonkers in some respects.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good to see creative minds at work, but
yes. Yeah, definitely. Well, so I think it's time for our guest, Annabelle. Do you want to give Ali her introduction?
Yes, I'll do that while you bring her in.
I'll go find her.
So this week's live stream guest is legendary balloon pilot Allie Dunnington. Allie holds the female world record of having flown a balloon in 115 countries and is chasing her late husband Phil's record of having flown in 127 countries. She's also a commercial balloon pilot, instructor, examiner, Is passionate about promoting aviation and blooming to women and girls, is a trained nurse, a musician, and probably a million other things. Welcome along, Ali. Thank you so much for coming this evening.
Lovely to be here. Great
So,
to be on the phone. Thank you very much for inviting me. Yeah.
And what surprised me most, so I've known Ali for quite some time, and what surprised me most, given that you're so passionate and now spend pretty much all day, every day involved in aviation, was you hadn't even thought about learning to fly until you met Phil.
Yeah, absolutely right. So, I mean, Phil, well, no, I have to go back. So I was definitely always firm on the ground. As you mentioned, my previous life, I was a tour guide. I learned languages. I trained as a nurse. And in my role as a tour guide, I ended up in Burma in 2002. And 3 of my clients had booked a balloon flight. And I thought, well, I'm selling this product, but I actually have no bloody idea what I'm selling here. And actually fate struck. I had actually been sick and lost my voice. It's a really funny story. Lay by a pool. There turns up this man and tries to chat me up, but I couldn't talk. Anyway, cut a long story short, I found out he's the balloon pilot. 3 of my clients were booked on that flight. Later on, I get a phone call saying, well, do you want to come on the balloon flight? And I thought, yes, great, sounds fantastic. So my first flight was drifting over these beautiful 2,000 temples in Pagan, on the 16th of November 2002. And it just absolutely captivated me. It was so magic. Sunset and after landing, set me up with champagne. And I thought, that's the best thing I've done in my life. Later on, we got together very quickly and we always joked, what came first, the balloon or the husband? So there we go. And I was fortunate enough, and yeah, indeed, we got together very quickly. And Phil was one of the senior balloonists in this country, had a balloon, and let me try a few hands-on flights, and I absolutely loved it. I think it ticked every box in my nature. I loved photography, I loved meeting people, I loved adventure, and I loved traveling, and it just hit it completely off.
Was it always your aim to fly in as many different countries as you could, or did that come about more organically?
Well, it came through Phil, definitely. I mean, I always loved to travel. Me and my family, we go back to when I was a kid of 5 years and tried to suddenly walk with a picnic bag to my grandmother who lived 18 miles away. And I was found by the police on a motorway, walking to grandmother. So I think the travel bug was always in my nature. But then having met Phil, who already, he didn't set out collecting countries, but I think after 20 years in ballooning, he looked through his logbook and thought, my goodness, I've done 50, 60 countries. Sounds fascinating. Let's do more. And yeah, of course, being together with him, we kind of hit it off and tried to gain more countries together. And I've just actually collected I looked through my logbook and it looks quite funny in there because there's probably Fiji before Finland, Burma before Britain, and Swaziland before Spain in my logbook. So
Right.
there we go.
Were there any countries that were particularly challenging to fly in?
Oh, yes.
I bet it hasn't all been easy.
No. And again, the challenge always comes. It's often not so much about the flight itself. It depends on the country. Some countries, like, for example, Malta, it took me 4 years to gain official permission because, would you believe it, but Malta is probably the only country in the world where hot air balloon is banned out of the constitution of that country. And I had to get exempted by the Prime Minister of Malta, let me do a balloon hop. And in the end, they expelled me onto the island of Gozo because Maltese airspace now is so tight. They didn't want to have me there. So it took endless going and froing with a designated rep that could deal with my request. So that was challenging. Other countries, yes, they're challenging because of the nature. They're full of jungle or spiky thorn trees like I found in Botswana. Or again, controlled airspace. We were, I think, the first ones who hadn't. Oh, there it goes. That was Botswana.
You mentioned Botswana. I thought I'd just pop that up.
Yes, absolutely. Botswana, you would think is easy, but where I tried to fly, and you don't see that from Google Earth when you do your recce, was full of bushy, spiky trees. And remember, a balloon drifts with the wind. I cannot steer this thing. I'm completely dependent on where the winds take me. And so, yeah, it's always a real challenge. Andorra, completely built up now. It was one of my most difficult European countries as well, because there is not a piece of green flat grass left in Andorra. So where do you balloon? Yeah.
And this photograph that you sent was quite intriguing. So this is Bulgaria, I understand.
Indeed, that was Bulgaria, and I really, really loved that photograph. And you know what? I mean, the lovely thing is, to me as a balloonist, because we never know really where we land. I mean, we're flying downwind most of the times, unless we get a box wind. But I ended up in this quite remote wilderness of Bulgaria on landing. It was obviously a fast landing, balloons deflated, and no idea how our retrieve in a car could come to us. But there turns up this horse cart. And so we had a horse cart retrieve in there and loaded the balloon up on their carriage and took us back to the next pub. But I'm still in touch via Facebook with a lovely Radostino from Bulgaria. And that's how you just meet people. And even to them, it's such an experience, such an unusual thing. Suddenly a balloon dropping out of the sky in their remote areas. Like these kids in Botswana, they probably never, ever in their life will see another hot air balloon. Sadly.
And I'm going to get Ed to find the video. So, because in 2017, you flew Betty the Beach to Greenland and then on to Canada to bag a few more countries. And we've got a couple of video clips. You made a great little documentary about this. I've seen the whole thing, which is available on your website. I'll find the link in a sec.
And here's the first of the videos.
We don't touch the ground. I needed an aeroplane that could not only take a small balloon inside it, but which had the range to cross areas of sea and mountains, and which, most importantly, had two engines, because if you're going to go to some of these very unusual places, you need the safety of two engines.
Normally, any aeroplane that flies across the Atlantic, you should wear one of these immersion suits, which just gives you another couple of valuable minutes to survive in minus 10 degrees of ice sea. If you don't wear them, you probably die of hypothermia within a minute.
Wow. Where was that landing, Allie?
I think that was Kulisuk, our first point of entry into Greenland. It was nerve-wracking because we came out of Iceland and the cloud base was so low. I mean, we nearly hit the mountains. And then we had icing on the wings, and coming lower also didn't work because we couldn't see where, between the water and the ice, where's the ground. I have to mention, obviously, neither Phil nor I actually were physically flying the aeroplane. I was camera woman and reporter in the back, so most of that footage that came up in this video is kind of my footage. But Phil was sort of second pilot, helping with navigation. But we had two wonderful, very, very experienced beach pilots from South Africa, John Herbert and Flippy Vermeulen, who's well known in the circuit as a DC-3 pilot. And they were just brilliant people to land us in remote strips where often the ground was so soft we nearly thought we lost the aeroplane.
Which leads nicely to the second video clip.
Here we go.
Blue East certainly was the one where we were closest to disaster, and the plan was always to look at the possibility of going there. The reason being that no fixed-wing aircraft had landed there since just after World War II. But the airfield was still known to have a runway in existence.
John has dared to land Betty here on Blue East, a disused airfield from Second World War. But we have one big problem, that Betty might be stuck. The back tire, the tail wheel is deeply sunk into this very soft gravel.
Wow. There was a lot of fuel tins there as well, fuel drums.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is actually a dispute between Greenland, the local people living there, being actually still polluted by sipping out fuel barrels that the Americans dropped as a support line fighting the war against Nazi Hitler. So they came from the States, refueled on these military bases in Greenland, and then took off again. But after Second World War, everything was just left. And the local people are complaining that all this rubbish should be cleared away because it's polluting their island. So it was, I mean, it was probably the most unbelievable, unsurreal place I've ever been to. And yeah, in a way, I'm still ever so grateful that I had the opportunity to do this incredible trip on the beach.
Right, and Annabelle's put a link in the comments. So if you want to read up a little bit about that, did you fly the? Did you manage to get the balloon out and fly there?
Yes, I think we were the first ones. We flew down the runway of Narsarsuaq, which is the main stopover point of at least sort of smaller airplanes, if not big ones, if they have an emergency, to come over. And it was a Sunday, and that was our luck as balloonists because the airport was shut. So we asked for permission, and we were probably also the first one where we had the aeroplane as a retrieve vehicle because we taxied Betty upwind, unloaded, offloaded the balloon, rigged it up, and then Phil and I flew down the runway heading towards the ice sea and the icebergs and just landed at the end of the runway. It was an incredible short flight, but incredible. And again, it's never about the duration of a flight. It's how you achieve it. And, you know, just a challenge. It might just sometimes be 5 minutes, but you will never forget that experience.
I was going to ask, for the record, the world record, so there's no minimum duration? Is there a minimum altitude that you have to, or is it just literally, as long as the balloon's off the ground, job is done?
Feet off the ground, so tethers do not count. So if you hold back on a rope, that doesn't count. Under the old rules, of course, 5 minutes counted as a flight. Under the new BFCL rules, it's got to be 10 minutes. So if you're strict, it's got to be 10 minutes. But to be honest, there's only a handful of people that are all known, most of them Brits, that are chasing what I'm chasing. I have to say I'm so far miles ahead as the only female. My next competitor is probably 3 countries behind me, so it's a close race. The other one maybe 4 or 5 behind me. So the race is going on, the race across the world, linking it in with the other show. So watch the space. So I've got to get going, really. I can't sit still yet. There's more to come.
Where is next, Ali? Can you tell us?
Yes, I can tell you. Well, it's already kind of in the plans. I want to go back to the Stans, so to Central Asia. It's been a project that actually Phil and I had 6 years ago, and we were thinking of bringing our small 2-person balloon and drive around entire Central Asia, including Turkmenistan, where never ever anybody had flown a balloon. Now that is as difficult as getting permission now to fly in North Korea. So, and the same with Afghanistan. 6 years ago, it was just about possible. Now you can forget it. But I will go to Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. And then it's getting really difficult in Southeast Asia. So I've just come back from my last expedition to try and fly in Indonesia. And I had to take my hopper, this is a single-seater baby balloon, across a pedestrian ferry onto the island of Sumatra. Here you see my 2 feet. This was actually when I think we had the ash clouds over Bristol Airport. So I called the picture 2 feet above E2GD. More than 2 feet, but so yeah, you just sit on a single seat and you could float with your feet either over water or on the ground.
Wow.
Yeah, so in Asia, honestly, there's only really difficult countries left, like Brunei, Timor-Leste, Singapore. Who knows the airport manager, please? So it's getting ever so challenging. Bangladesh, I think, is possible. Pakistan, I need. Yeah, but we've done Iran and Iraq, and luckily the rest of, well, apart from Syria, I've done Israel, and I had done Ukraine. So a couple of countries I was lucky to get before they all went down the hill, including Libya, just before the Gaddafi. So, yeah, a few lucky ones, bad ones. I still haven't flown in Russia. even though one day hopefully that's not so difficult. But yeah, so it's so many opportunities really. That's what it is. And even with the beach, and it was still his dream in his life, and he did it, and he lived his life to the full. And for that, I know it's great. I've known this wonderful man and been part of these expeditions with him.
And in terms of traveling with a balloon, how difficult is that? It's because the basket strikes me as not something that you can easily fold up, is it?
No. So again, this is the sad thing, having lost my partner and husband, in being able to transport a balloon and to even fly a balloon. Now, a balloon is not even like a solo aeroplane. I can't just jump into a hot air balloon and go off and fly. I always need somebody to possibly follow me on the ground, because we're not coming back to where we launched. So it's extremely difficult to be on your own now with this kind of challenge ahead of me. But I just have to tab in more, meeting local people. But back to your question, how to transport a balloon. So on this last expedition, indeed, I managed to get my entire hopper balloon, so it's 4 bags, on a checked-in scheduled flight. So you can vent the propane gas out of a flight cylinder, then it's just a piece of metal weighing 15 kilos. My envelope is designed to be a special lightweight fabric by Cameron Balloons, and it only weighs 28 kilos now. So maximum is 32 on a check-in luggage. I have an electric fan, so no petrol, no oil. That, again, it charges off a car battery. So it's a piece of metal on the aircraft, nothing dangerous. And the last thing is my seat. It's a frame, basically, a seat and a burner. Again, pieces of metal, weighs 24 kilos. So I did take the entire hopper out to Delhi on my way out, and then managed to get part of it down to Malaysia and around to Indonesia. So this is the super lightweight one. The foldable one that was living in the aeroplane, again, the basket is collapsible. It's not the traditional wicker. It's just a fabric-made basket, very lightweight. It can be folded into just a square meter of a small pallet thing. So, yeah, we're going really the lightweight way. And I think in general terms, that's the way forward in ballooning anyway. We're all not getting younger, and humping and heaving is not something we want to do forever. So more lightweight materials, easy to carry around and explore the world is the way forward, I think.
Yeah, I definitely not lightweight is some of the things that you're flying at the moment.
Exactly. I was just coming to that. I'm thinking, yeah, so from the baby hopper, just to give you a size of volume, so the smallest balloon in the world, and that was my wedding gift, again, cheeky by Phil to give me an envelope. That was a 17,000 cubic feet little tiny balloon. Now I'm flying this big Virgin thing, and that is 400,000 cubic feet. So it carries 16 passengers. So I'll be down in Devon and Cornwall this season. If you see a red big thing floating in the skies, that's probably me.
Was it that balloon? Because I've got a good Allie Dunnington story. Because I was my other half and I went out to walk the dog, and it was one of those days when I went, no, I'll leave my phone behind and I'll have absolutely no aviation contact. I'm walking across the field with the dog, and we hear balloon noise, and all of a sudden this balloon lands. And I have to say, there were power lines all over the place. And I said to my other half, that's a really skilled balloon pilot, as the basket kind of maneuvers into this field with lines all around. And there's this voice shouts, where are we? And I kind of amble over, and I realise that it's Allie in the basket.
This was my first flight of the season working for Virgin, indeed, and I was about to shit myself because I couldn't find anywhere suitable for landing. And like you say, it was getting dark and power lines, and I'm thinking, I just want to bring this thing down. I don't care where. And then you suddenly turn up. It's hilarious.
It was mad. It was a very good demonstration of just how skilled a pilot you are, Allie, because it's clear. I remember watching it going, because you seem to be able to rotate the balloon on the spot, and there seem to be all sorts of clever little tricks that you've got up your piloting sleeve. So
yeah, you have to say at this point also, it's not only about the pilot, if I may mention, crew also is the other really important part in making a slick balloon flight. So if you have a good retrieve that manages to find you somewhere in the depth of forest or wherever you land, that is great too. And we always have to be really grateful if we can find somebody who can follow us and find us in the end, and who can speak to the farmers. So this is a big issue in our country, especially where we have so many fences and hedges, and the landowners are quite protective. And of course, this year it's going to be especially difficult after the farmers having had such a really terrible winter and the fields all waterlogged. So again, in ballooning, we are the most vulnerable form of flight, even though we're the oldest.
Yeah.
But even if the weather is wonderful, suddenly, we have to land in some fields. And if the ground isn't dry so that a vehicle could drive in, then we still can't fly it, because we just have to be sensible and respectful to the farming community. So the bigger the balloon is, the more difficult it is. So yeah, that's why the saving grace to me and Phil always was the small baby balloon hoppers, which we could carry out. We didn't need to drive a car into anywhere. We could just carry it, put it on our shoulders and carry it out to the road. So that helped us to get going even in more difficult weather months. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Mm.
Any questions, guys?
So I mean, Ed kind of answered a bit of the question I was going to ask, but do you have any controls? When you basically can go up and down, and otherwise you're just at the mercy of the wind?
We can go up and down, indeed. So we're, again, dependent on finding, hopefully, different winds and different altitudes. So we also do a good weather check, of course, and we're especially interested in the altitude wind. So we look at the 500-foot wind, obviously the surface. It mustn't be more than, probably 8-9 knots, then you struggle really getting off the ground. Once you're airborne, we don't really care how much it is, if we have enough space to fly sort of in that direction. And that's, especially in Bristol, a big problem with the changing winds. I don't know if you notice it, but we're getting more and more easterly winds. And these are really difficult for flying out of Bristol. Our main launch site is Ashton Court. If it's an easterly, we're right into Bristol airspace. If it's a southeasterly, we're right into the sea. So we have to cancel flying from Bristol and relocate to somewhere else like Bath. But if we do find we have different directions or different speeds and different altitudes, we can actually fantastically, if the pilot halfway knows how to fly a balloon, navigate ourselves to end up all in the same space. So if you look at the Fiesta in Bristol, for example, when there's 100 balloons taking off from the same spot, you might notice balloons drifting in different areas. But there was one Fiesta, I remember we set the world record of everybody managed to land in Keynsham in the old chocolate factory. So it looked like everybody had a different flying track, but you could choose flying high first and then using the lower wind to land, or do the opposite. So, and that's how competition ballooning also works. So obviously you can't set a target upwind, but the competition master will put a cross on the ground. And again, it depends really whether you have steerage. That's what we call steerage. I flew yesterday morning. It was a lovely little balloon flight here in Tiverton. But there was no steerage. Whatever I tried, going high, going low, I could not change my direction. I was committed to going down that route, even though I was hoping for something else. So, and it can be super frustrating when you're literally 10 meters off a wonderful landing site and the wind just doesn't get you there. I mean, that's sometimes where we can scream.
So you can't get people in the basket going, "It's come on, balloon, we can do this."
I think we should get you to fly us. I think we should get you to get a big basket, and then we can do live stream live with Ali from the balloon.
But I think the biggest lesson I learned as a new pilot was, it was again the Fiesta, and I think it was slow winds, and I was sweeping towards this beautiful big grass area, Hengrove, old airfield of Bristol. And I said to my group, "Yeah, go there. I will land there. I will land there." I said, "That's a word I will never ever use in my career. The word will. I say always maybe, inshallah, maybe hopefully I will land there." But because that flight, the wind last minute pushed me 90 degrees away from it, and I didn't make it. Hilarious.
In the comments, Jane says, "Was there a power?" She says, "I've heard about a powered balloon. Is that something that's available?"
A what? Powered balloon?
A powered balloon. I'm guessing a balloon maybe with some kind of thrust.
Yes. So I have a hot air airship PPR license, and I think even I was possibly the first European airship pilot at the time. So there are things called hot air airships, and they have an engine and you've got a throttle. It's really multitasking when you fly these things. So with your left hand, you operate the throttle, the engine. With when you're not pushing the power button, you have two ropes. They can indeed steer the fin in the back, so you can turn left and right, which is not the case in a balloon. And with your foot, you press a push button on the ground of the carriage, and that operates the burner. So your lift is still coming from the hot air, a hot air burner. And the funny thing is, when I did my first solo, indeed, I suffered an engine failure. But then you just switch to thinking, well, I'm just flying a hot air balloon. Just put bloody hot air in. I'm not going to crash to the ground. I'm in a hot air balloon now. I'm not an airship anymore. So they're fascinating, but they're very susceptible to wind, even more than a normal standard balloon. And they take even more crew. Complicated things, I have to say. Lovely to do, but not really that practical.
Anyone else? Ali, I asked Dave Boxall when he was on. Have you ever flown at? Have you managed to do the Albuquerque festival?
Yeah. And again, I was as unlucky as you guys were when you went down to Friedrichshafen. I was there, not this October, the year after, before, and it was the worst Albuquerque in 50 years of their existence. I mean, they had thunderstorm, hail, and rain, and it was wonderful. But we had one amazing mass launch in the morning, and it was spectacular, having 1,000 balloons and all special shapes. It's an incredible, it's an incredible sight and a beautiful place to go to and visit. Yeah.
Fantastic. There's a question in the comments. Josh Morton says, do you fly a 300 or a 400 now?
That's a very specialist question. Yes, I've swapped from the 300, which I flew last year. So the 12-passenger balloon here will be a 400 this season, and I'm starting my season here on the 12th of May. So, yep, hopefully maybe see some of you on board of my aircraft, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Annabelle, do you want to wrap up for us?
Yeah, well, thank you, Ali. I've known you for a long time. I've heard you talk a lot, and I'm so glad that you were able to give us some time. So I know it's a really, really busy time. So yeah, really appreciate you coming along this evening. Thank you.
Oh, my great pleasure. And lucky the weather is still rubbish, and I'm not yet booked to fly down here. So
thank goodness it's raining.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a great pleasure, and thank you so much for having me here. Really enjoyed being here.
Ali, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Oh, it's a big Annabelle.
So what that?
Big Annabelle. Nick Allen says, another great guest, David Sherwood. Sherin says, thanks, Ali. Yeah, I just so many tremendous adventures, and what skill set. But yeah, it was
just interesting to see quite a few balloon pilots in the comments, David Sherin being one of them.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to get more balloonists in as guests.
Absolutely. So Fancy Hangar, this week we asked, we were short of ideas, so we asked Livestream X viewers yesterday afternoon for a Fancy Hangar subject. Paul Wheels got started because we've been talking about expensive new aeroplanes at Aero. He said, how about budget fun aeroplanes? So we went looking in the classifieds for under 50k. So who's first?
Well, you decided.
Well, in that case, I'll pick Annabelle. Your photos are first.
Oh, okay. Right. So I found quite a lot, actually. I thought that this might be quite tricky, but I found loads of aerobatic aircraft, dinghies with hang gliders strapped on. They all kind of ticked the box. until I saw this photo, which I now have to try and find. This one, that's the one. And that one, come on, the brief was fun. How much fun does that look? So this is a 1947 Luscombe, sorry Dave, I took the Luscombe 8E, which is Silver Deluxe. This particular model comes with a 150 horsepower Lycoming engine, floats, and the custom haulage and takeoff dolly. Yes, you can take it off, leaving it behind, trundling down the runway when you go off and then you land on the lake. I guess you could also take off from a trailer being towed. This is for sale for around $55,000, which is just over £44,000.
Wow.
And it can also convert. There had two pictures in there. There you go. It's got the wheels as well.
That looks like a lot of fun. Can you land back on the dolly? I think that would be a trick.
I think it is possible, but you'd need skills like Allie's to manage that.
I don't think so.
You'd really hope that dolly stays straight, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it looks like a shopping trolley, so I'm guessing probably not. Probably after that photo was taken, it's like out of shot. So,
I mean, come on, that looks so much. That photograph.
That does look like a lot of fun.
That's fun, yeah.
Very good. Dave, what did you go for?
I've gone for it's actually because Annabelle stole the Luscombe, I was unable to go after one. So I've gone for it's probably the next best thing. I've never actually flown one, but it's a Cessna 140. Ooh. And this is very nice, very similar to a Luscombe. It's the same period. This one is for sale in the States. Look at that panel. I mean, I love it because of that panel.
Is it red nose?
What? Anyway, so this is for sale at $38,000 in the States, which gives enough leeway to bring it back and pay a bit of tax as well.
I think you're on the numbers there with your calculations there, Dave. Annabelle's $44,000 might be challenging.
Yes.
Yeah, yep. But still, anyway, she gets floats. Johnny, what have you got?
And the dolly. Don't forget the dolly.
Dolly, yeah.
I've gone for a DR-107, which I found on Barnstormers. Which, it's not it's fun for one. It's not very not a sociable aeroplane, but numbers wise, this was $56,000, which I think worked out the just the shade under £50.
I think so. I think that's a bit more than actually.
Maybe if you can do a really good deal, Johnny, and get a free container, and when it arrives, go, hey, Mr. HMRC, nothing to see here.
Oh, look at that over there.
That's quite a capable aeroplane, though, for not much money.
Yeah, it's definitely fun.
Yeah, definitely fun. And in a similar vein, I've gone fun for one, like Johnny. I found, so on A4s was this really nice Pitts S1. I picked this, and I always like a Pitts. If I'm scrolling through adverts, I'll always stop and look at one. I don't know why. I keep having this obsession that one day I'll at least have one for a little bit of time. But it's probably the sort of aeroplane I only need for a weekend. So anyway, this one's got 180 horsepower Lycoming. It's the advert says it's really a really lovely Pitts S1, never used for competition, beautiful paint and fabric. You'll struggle to find a better one. 370 hours, £48,000. So only leaves us to check the comments, which is winner is whoever picks the best. Well, that might be Dave's.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Dave's quite good. Jane says, looks like it has to be pedalled to take off. Jane, were you talking about
Annabelle's?
Nick Allen says, for the gold star, try landing back on the trailer. Nice, Dave. What else? Johnny wins. One design is fantastic. Slightly financially challenged, though. Annabelle has the best outside, Dave the best inside. Mick Ward says, that's lovely, Ed. I win. Annabelle wins easy. Dave wins. Ed wins. Annabelle wins. Hello, Dolly. Annabelle wins. I see what you did there, Nick.
Very good.
It might be a Dave wins. Dave wins if he is cheapest.
Are you cheap, Dave?
I'm very
Yeah,
cheap.
Nigel
Yeah.
Hitchman said, Ed Winter, I bet there are some great aircraft out there for 20k or less. On A4s, there were a few. There was there was a mini cab, 2 seat side by side aeroplane, Continental O200, which is just sold for 11k.
Wow.
That's unbelievable value, isn't it? So, Stuart Rue, I think Dave wins tonight. Tied, Dave and Annabelle. Dave, brilliant, but I love floats. Fantastic.
And the dolly thing.
Yeah.
I'm just taken with. Have you noticed? I'm taken with the idea of the dolly.
Yeah.
I just imagine taking off from Farnborough and just leaving it down the. See you later. I'll be back in a bit.
Yeah, you wouldn't be getting invited back, I'm not sure. Boxall's got a guest tip. He said, definitely get a few more balloonists. Maybe we can have Don Cameron. So that's definitely setting sights quite high.
Yes, yes.
Any events, Dave?
Well, it's because of the weather forecast of the weekend. It's not. Yeah, you really need to check before going anywhere. The one event that has been cancelled, definitely cancelled, is Spitfires over Compton Abbas because of the weather. However, they should be there next weekend, weather permitting. This weekend also, which is a real shame if this is cancelled, this is the Vintage Aircraft Club's Spring Flying at Turweston. Always a really lovely event. If the 27th is bad, they're going to put it to the 28th. But so it might work out. Further north, on Saturday is a Booker Youngman flying at Brayton. But looking ahead, of course, is the Microlite Trade Fair at Popham coming up in early May, 4th and 5th of May.
2 weeks
So
time.
there's that to look forward to.
Hopefully we'll have the weather. So
yeah.
Anyway, fantastic. Thanks to Annabelle, Dave, Johnny, and to our fabulous guest, Allie Dunnington. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching. Obviously, you can catch us next week. If you're a Flyer Club member, join us for the Skype stream on Wednesday afternoon. Otherwise, we'll see you next week, Thursday at 7:30 with another guest. Anyone know who's... we've got Spaceman on next week, haven't we?
We have. So next week, don't forget Tuesday, we have Cy Wilson's webinar. Next Thursday, the guess is we have an astronaut.
Amazing.
Great.
Out of this world, as they would say.
Of this planet.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.